We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. It is Wednesday when you're listening to this. I'm recording it in the afternoon on Tuesday. We have the good fortune of having yet another guest, Kristen. I know a lot of people look forward to having you on the show. It's particularly interesting because you're based in California, Los Angeles specifically, and you'll give us a perspective about the shit show that's going on out there. First of all, welcome, Kristen. I'm glad we had a little trouble getting this together. I had something going and you got sick for a while, but finally we're able to nail it down, and here we are.
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank my immune system for doing a great job and making sure that I didn't go completely down with the flu because I was borderline, like right there with like being bedridden for a few days. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I feel like this is a really important podcast episode. If you are first getting to know me, if you haven't seen me on the show before, I was a television producer, specifically a reality TV producer for many years. And now I work in holistic health. And I've lived in Los Angeles for 20 years. I left for a little while when I was working in Miami, and I left for a little while when I was working in London. But for most of my adult life, since I graduated college, I have lived in Los Angeles. And I think one thing that I just want to make really clear is what you are seeing on TV is edited content, right? Now, if you're watching a live stream, obviously that's different. But what I've been seeing on the news is so slanted and I guess the best word would just to describe it would just be propaganda. So Los Angeles, and you know because you've been here, Boomer, is a huge city, right? There are in the county of Los Angeles 20 million people. I mean, just right around me within just a few, miles, there are millions of people. This is a very densely populated city that is spread out over a large area. So there's the city of LA and then the county of LA. And the county of LA is enormous. And the area that these protests are happening is in a couple of blocks in downtown LA. And so the 99.9% of this city and this county have no idea what's going on. It is not affecting anyone's daily life. 99.9% of Angelenos don't know anybody at that protest, don't know anything about what's going on at that protest because it's such an isolated area. So to bring in the National Guard and to bring in the Marines is such overkill. And I truly believe what we are witnessing right now is the most epic narcissistic collapse the world has ever seen. This narcissist is going down, and he's going down in, a blaze of glory, and LA will be very happy to help bring this regime down. He will not win this. The regime will not win this. LA is the original F the police city. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just the way that people are in this city. We have all of these little pockets of all these different communities, and everybody gets along and everybody cares about each other. And where you are in your little community, in your little pocket of LA, people over the last couple of weeks have been absolutely sick and tired of the regime coming into schools, coming into businesses, and hauling people out. So what's become abundantly clear to me is this was never about the border. If this was about the border, they would be at the border. This is about terror, and this is about authoritarianism, and this is about a show of force. And we have to be really clear about what we're seeing here so we don't get caught up in their propaganda.
I have to point out something. You made something, and people need to be clear about this. If you listen to Donald Trump, he's saying Los Angeles was under siege. They're burning stuff down. There's violence against ICE people and all that. As you pointed out, this is all taking place in about a 4-block area, maybe in a commercial area, 4-block area. I'd like to ask somebody in the administration, how fucking bad are our National Guard and our Marines, where we need 2,000 fucking National Guard and 700 Marines to keep calm in a 4-block area? The fuck is that? I mean, it's obviously overkill. They want you to believe, the media and Donald Trump wants you to believe that it's massive and it's all over and it's like the 92 riots, and it's not. It's not even close. There's not violence. There might be some vandalism and such, but we don't even know who's starting that. As I've said on a previous podcast, we had the riots in Minneapolis, and they were saying BLM's burning down the city. BLM burned down the 3rd Precinct Police Department. Well, what we found out about the 3rd Precinct, Boogaloo Boy, who is a Trump supporter, is the one that started the fire and went to jail for it. So that's my concern about what's going on in LA. You might get some instigators, but they may not be the Democrats or liberals. But it's 4 fucking blocks. How many people? I could get a couple of my buddies and probably straighten that shit out. But they need 2,000 National Guard. They need 700 Marines to do this. This tells me the effectiveness of our military is pretty shitty.
Yeah. Um, on an average night in a large city, there's going to be vandalism. On a Saturday night in a large city, you're going to have someone throw something in a storefront. You're going to have someone break into a business and steal. On an average Saturday night in any large city, a car can get burned. That can happen anywhere, anytime. That is not cause for the military or the National Guard. And I truly believe, like what we saw in the BLM protests, there were agitators, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, those 1%ers or whatever they're called. There's a whole bunch of those fringe right-wing groups that come into peaceful protests to cause problems. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I don't like to go into conspiracy land, but if we end up finding out, like what you were saying, the Bugaloos, that the people that trashed some LAPD vehicles and did some looting and some vandalism were actually sent in from the right. Because now none of those January 6ers are in jail anymore. They have become ICE agents, and they also, I believe, are part of the agitation. So one thing that is really interesting is that it seems as though LAPD and the LA County Sheriff are part of this. I mean, to see an LAPD literally square up to shoot that Australian journalist in the leg, he squared up to shoot her. Yeah. He did that purposefully. And I believe that a British journalist was shot in the head with either a plastic bullet or a rubber bullet and had to have surgery. And so why LAPD and the LA County sheriffs are acting this way is really very astonishing to me, because the LA County or LAPD released a statement saying that they were peaceful protests, but yet they have their own police officers who are instigating violence. You know,
does it really surprise you?
I don't want to go into conspiracy land, but this for me feels, and I know that Trump doesn't plan things, but there is an element of Project 2025 that is planned, that LA and California are the experiment for what they want to do around the country.
LA Police Department acting badly, or the LA County Sheriff's Department acting badly, does that really surprise you? I mean, based on their history and based the things they do. I mean, the brass might say one thing, but some of these fucks on the street, like you say, potential Nazis, certainly Trump humpers. And who are they shooting? They're shooting fucking media. The media wasn't burning cars. The media wasn't facing off with National Guard. They're just reporting. So that would suggest they're specifically going after people trying to report what was going on there. And that is troubling.
And I guess I should say I'm disappointed, because they live here. They're Angelenos. These are their friends. This is their community. And there was a big scandal in the LA County Sheriff. The sheriff was a MAGA, and he lost the election, and it came to light that there was like secret groups of LA County sheriffs who had Nazi tattoos and who were engaging in white supremacist behavior. And this snowflake, when he lost the election, when he lost being reelected as the LA County Sheriff, he cried on TV. He cried. He is a total snowflake. He cried like a big freaking baby. So I think that, we always, police need better training, police need more money, they need more gear. No, we have to have better psychological profiles of who wants to be a police officer, because unfortunately, the majority of people that want to be a police officer or who want to be a deputy sheriff have sexual predator issues. They have domestic violence issues. A lot of the men that want to actually be in law enforcement have psychological issues, and there needs to be greater testing about who these people are before they get into the academy. And I think they are so low on numbers and they need people so badly that probably doesn't really matter anymore.
Back when we had the George Floyd thing and everybody's saying defund the police, and I said we should go the other way. We should pay them a lot of money, send them through all kinds of training, mental and physical, and have high bars for these people. If you fuck up, you're done. Attract people by paying them more money so we can get better quality people in there. Because the problem is we've got poor quality people in the police force because they don't get paid enough. It's a risky thing. You'd have to be crazy to fucking take that job. And of course, we get a bunch of fucking crazies. We should make it more of an elite organization where only the best people show up. We haven't been able to do that. And, whether we're talking about Minneapolis or Los Angeles, there are factions of just dirtbags on the police department because they either got beat up in school and now they're trying to push back on their years of being bullied, or they're just MAGA or Nazis or whatever the fuck they are. They're trying to impose their will on people. And that's not what law enforcement's supposed to do. They're supposed to protect people. And unfortunately, we're not seeing that from anybody at this point.
No, and I mean, if you look at the domestic violence statistics with police officers and the sexual violence that they commit against the women in their lives, the numbers are staggering.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have high rates of domestic violence and sexual abuse against women. We're in big trouble. We're in big trouble, and that's why I come on the show. And I always want to preface that I don't want to scare anybody, but I believe that knowledge is power, and that we cannot ignore what's happening. We must bear witness. We cannot look away. And I also feel like we have to speak out. We can't be scared. And so many people fall for this. I have people coming into my comments on Blue Sky, people coming into my direct messages saying, oh, well, we're going to primary these people. We're going to have an election. Those MAGAs aren't going to vote for them after their Medicare gets taken. And I just want to scream and say, wake up, wake up. MAGAs want this. You can take their Medicaid, they are still going to vote for MAGA. And if you think that this is just all going to just stop and that this isn't a test run for all major cities so that he can install a complete dictatorship and so we never have an election again, I want to tell everybody to wake up, okay? Wake up. Because this is really serious what's happening here.
Well, I'll just say this. On the November 5th election, we said those very same things. Oh, of course, they're never going to vote for him if he overturned Roe v. Wade. Oh, of course, they're never going to vote for him if he's been convicted 34 times. Oh, of course, they're not going to vote for him when he was adjudicated as a sexual predator. But fuck me, that's exactly what they did.
Yep. And they even are willing to lose their retirement. They are willing to lose hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the stock market for him to be a tough guy and to hurt brown and black people. Okay. They love this. They are eating it up. And that's why I want everybody in this audience and in this community to be able to see through the propaganda. Just because you see one car burning on TV does not mean the whole city of LA is going up in flames. Okay. You have to have better critical thinking, and you need to watch the live streams where you can see the actual protesters dancing and singing and no violence. And I also want to call out CNN and Aaron Burnett. This bitch is a fucking liar. Yeah. She was on CNN last night saying that the protesters were firing into, and she was holding up these pellets, and she is a liar propagandist for CNN. And I'm calling her out with her name attached. So everybody knows, do not trust a word Aaron Burnett says. She got on CNN last night and lied and held up these little things saying, this is the shell casings from what the protesters were firing into the LAPD officers. No, it was not. They have not fired anything back like that. That was peaceful protesters that are being agitated by LAPD and by the LA County Sheriff. And literally the only thing that I've seen, like, what that wasn't an agitator, was people calling them names. They're really good at calling them names, getting up in their face and calling them losers, calling shame, shame, shame. Ridiculing them is the best way to go. Absolutely the best way to go, because MAGA can't handle being ridiculed. They have such thin skin. But I'm really disgusted with CNN. And I know this for a fact that they've acted like this, because I've worked with people that used to work for CNN, producers and camera guys. I have a good friend that was a camera guy from CNN, and he left because of this. After the earthquake in Haiti, and I might have told this story before, they had all of these amazing human interest stories that him and his producer went and got about how people were helping and taking care of each other's children. And the CNN producer said, we don't want those stories. You go get looting stories and bring the looting stories back. And they shelved every single positive human interest story. And that's what's happening right now. But like I said, I believe this is part of a bigger plan. This is part of Project 2025's plan of capturing the especially blue states. They need California. They cannot make their plan happen with California sticking out here as a blue state. They can't rig our elections. They can't take over all the money that California generates unless they created this big of a problem. And that's my big concern right now, is that they're going to state capture California.
In terms of CNN, I've been off them for a long time. I think they're unredeemable at this point. I mean, you talk about Aaron Burnett, but we can talk about Jake Tapper. We can talk about Anderson Cooper. I know people love Anderson Cooper, but he's as bad as the fucking rest of them. Wolf
Yes, he
Blitzer,
is.
all of them.
All of them.
CNN is basically Fox Light, and they don't tell the truth. They don't tell the whole story. And if you're watching CNN, you're wasting your time. Frankly, watching MSNBC is a waste of time, except for a couple of people. I like Lawrence O'Donnell. I don't even know that I like Rachel anymore, because she's too theatrical. Give me the fucking news. Don't tell me a 2-hour story. Get to the fucking news. There's a couple other people on MSNBC that are okay, but mainstream media generally is problematic because they don't either tell you the whole story, they don't tell you the truth. It's hard to get really any information from them at all. I've really been off watching them for a long time because it's just not helpful.
Yeah, mainstream media is going to tell the narrative that suits the regime, right? And they were doing this subtly for many years. I stopped watching CNN Election Day 2016. And I was an avid CNN watcher, especially HLN. I watched HLN pretty much all day, every day. And at that time, I was traveling a lot as a television producer. And so I watched HLN, like, all the different hotel rooms that I was in. And after Election Day in 2016, I've never watched CNN ever since then. I've literally never watched. I only see clips on social media. MSNBC is terrible. Rachel Maddow is so negative and such a negative Nelly. I had to cut her off when she just was complete gloom and doom, and like you said, theatrics. For me, the only one on MSNBC that's worth anything is Lawrence. He's a class act. He is so brilliant, and I have a lot of respect for him. But right now, we need citizen journalists, and there have been a ton of citizen journalists on Blue Sky that just went viral over the last couple of days, whose accounts just completely blew up as they were documenting all of this. And this is going to spread. And I don't mean to be gloom and doom, but like I said, I believe knowledge is power. And I ultimately believe the Trump regime will lose. This is not going to work. You're not going to be able to take freedom away from 360 million people who have had freedom their whole life. You can't make us into Russia. You can't make us into North Korea. We have experienced too much freedom and living our best life. You can't put the cat back in the bag. Okay? So this is going to fail. I don't know how or when this regime will fall, but this will be the beginning of his downfall. The beginning of his downfall actually was when Elmo called him out on X. And this is part of a narcissistic collapse. So when a narcissist feels slighted, they go into full-on battle mode. And that's what this is. And people say, oh, distraction, distraction. In an authoritarian regime, everything is a distraction. They flood the zone so you can't even keep up with what's going on. But I'm pretty sure that Portland, Houston, Dallas, it's coming. That really evil demon, Tom Homan, the border czar, he said with a Cheshire smile, "Wait till you see what we have planned next." And when I saw him say that on TV the other day, it literally sent chills through me. Chills. So they are planning something so evil. And the thing is that Trump and everybody in his regime is really stupid. They're narcissists and power hungry, but they're dumb. They're all dumb as a box of rocks, and none of them are qualified to do their job. But the people that run Project 2025 are not dumb. They do know what they're doing, and they've been planning this for a long time. And they at the beginning of the year set out to destroy Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. And I would not be surprised at all if one of them or both of them gets arrested, or if it gets very, very close to that. And I also would not be surprised if other Democratic leaders get arrested. We are at a place right now where this narcissist has been so slighted by Elmo, he is going to go scorched earth. And when people say, "Oh, that was planned and that's a lover spat and they're still getting along," no. How we knew that was real was the Epstein comment. Right. That's how we know it was real. Now, can they fully separate from each other? No, they can't, because they both know each other's secrets, and they're in deep with the election stuff, which is the next thing we can talk about. Is the Economic Times finally had the article, "The election was stolen via rigging of the voting machines." You can look it up and read the article. I posted it on my blog.
Before we do that, I want to expand on what's going on in LA. I think the reason why Donald Trump decided to send in the Marines is because Gavin Newsom called him out and called him a coward and called him a fascist and called him out. So he had to ramp it up again, and he sent in the Marines. Now, Donald Trump's got a problem because he's got nothing left to do. And if there is no violence going on in LA, what's he going to do? How is he going to what's the next thing he's going to do? I don't know what it can be, but where he fucked up is he's trying to cover up his little kerfuffle with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk was calling him out. So he goes to California.
Yep.
Fucking Gavin Newsom's a lot tougher, a lot meaner, a lot more articulate than Donald Trump or Elon Musk. And he's tearing Donald Trump up. He called into question his mental acuity. Donald Trump said he spoke to Gavin Newsom on the phone yesterday. Gavin Newsom says, "It never happened. He never talked to me." We got to wonder about a guy's mental capacity if he can't remember who he fucking talked to the day before. Gavin Newsom is, whether you like him or not, and I'm not sure I like him at all as much, certainly not as a presidential candidate, but if this is a battle of wits, Donald Trump is an unarmed man. And it all comes down to the worst thing you can do to Donald Trump is embarrass him, like Elon Musk did, or like Wall Street did when they called him a chicken, or like when he tripped up the stairs going to Air Force One and everybody's putting it out everywhere. That's the stuff that kills him. And I think that Gavin Newsom understands that. So he's in a battle with Gavin Newsom. He's certainly going to lose that battle. And nothing's going to happen in Los Angeles. It's 3 or 4 blocks. There is no violence. He's going to have these people standing there with their thumbs up their ass, and nothing's going to happen. He's going to have to pull them back. He wants a fight. He wants the chaos, but it's not going to happen. So he's in a desperate mode. He needs that kind of activity in order to push along what he wants to do. And he's trying everything to do it, but it's not working. So he is going to lose this.
Oh, absolutely. 100% he's going to lose this. And I feel bad for those National Guard. They called them up for 29 days instead of 30, which means they don't get a per diem. So they don't get their hotel paid for, nor do they get a food per diem. So yeah, and they purposely did that, called them up for 29 days so they don't have to pay them. If they had called them up for 30 or more days, they would have had to pay for their hotel and pay them a stipend. A per diem is, cash that you get, per day to pay for your living expenses. So they're all doing this on their own dime. And I guarantee you that the reserve people don't have money. They're not rich people. They're going to lose money by being a reservist. Yeah.
Right.
They might go into debt because they might have to put it on a credit card. Staying in a hotel for 29 days, you know how expensive that is? Even if you're in a cheap hotel, even if you're in, a Days Inn or a Comfort Inn, you're still looking at $100 to $150 a night in LA.
Yeah.
So, and they had no, this is not planned or thought out in any way. They just, sent these troops over here and then they can just sleep on the floor. Now, one thing that I want to mention that everyone might remember is during the fires when Dumpy came and Gavin met him on the tarmac. Remember, he refused to meet Gavin. And I
Right.
have mixed feelings about Newsom as well. I think he is a slime ball, but I also think we need a slime ball to deal with the slime ball. He understands you have to
Granted.
match energy, and that's what we need right now. And he's as crooked as the day is long, but we need that because we have to match the energy with someone who also is crooked as the day is long. So I voted for Gavin because the alternative was not good. But I have a lot of problems with him, but I do think that he understands the matching energy. So on that tarmac, when Dumpy got off the tarmac with Melania, gorgeous Gavin Newsom, and women think he's very good looking. Okay, women think he's very good looking. Went up to Dumpy, his felt self, and pointed his finger right in Dumpy's chest. And then, there's a great photo of it with Dumpy standing there all fat with his gut hanging out and Gavin Newsom's finger right in his chest. And then after that, he walked over to Melania and kissed her on the cheek. So that is part of like what you were saying, what he doesn't like and how thin-skinned he is and how, he doesn't like getting made fun of. I guarantee you a lot of this and what is going on with why LA was targeted first is because of that tarmac incident. That's how thin-skinned he is, and that's how much retribution and revenge that he's always seeking.
But if Donald Trump thinks Gavin Newsom's going to be intimidated by him, that ain't
No.
going to happen. If we
No.
were talking big dick energy, it's not Donald Trump. It's Gavin Newsom in this situation.
Yeah.
And Gavin understands that. And what's he got to lose at this point? Anybody who stands up and makes fun of Donald Trump is going the right route to take him down and put him in the spiral. Like you said, a narcissistic wound. It doesn't have to be losing an election. It just has to be somebody saying, they're calling you a chicken, Donald, or you tripped up the stairs. It's little shit like that that just gets in his fucking head and he can't deal with it. And then he tries to find some other way to attack back. And that's what he's doing to Gavin Newsom now. And I think he's definitely going to lose this because whether you like Gavin Newsom or not, he's a much more intelligent, much more articulate, much smoother guy than Donald Trump. And Donald Trump can't help but looking like a fucking fool in this process. And if anybody can make him look like a fool, it'll be Gavin.
Well, and Gavin's better looking. And I guarantee you, like I said, women think he's good looking. And you don't think that Dumpy knows that? That bothers him. And that was one of the big mistakes they made in the election was toning down Tim. When he called MAGA weird, that worked. That worked.
Yeah, boy, it worked.
And then they had him tone it down, and that was just the wrong way to go. So we've been slicing Dumpy with paper cuts, right? One paper cut after another paper cut after another paper cut. But Elmo came in last week and threw two haymakers. Okay, he threw two haymakers. And those were the biggest haymakers that we had land on Dumpy since he got inaugurated. Those were the biggest two. And so that's what I'm saying about how now he's got to over respond to those haymakers, right? He's got to over respond to the Epstein comment. And this bill means everything to him, right? He has such a limited vocabulary that the fact that it's called the big beautiful bill is because that's some of the words in his 200 vocabulary that he uses, right? He calls everything big and beautiful and tremendous. So those two haymakers that Elmo landed are going to take a long time for Trump to get over. A long time.
Well, we're into this presidency 4 or 5 months or whatever it is. Maybe it's 6 months. I don't know. It seems like for fucking ever. But Donald Trump is in desperation mode because nothing he's attempted has worked. The bill probably isn't going to pass. Since he's been in office, not one meaningful bill has been passed. It's probably the least effective House of Representatives or Congress in general since, I don't know, the 2 years before Donald Trump was president. They haven't been effective in Congress, the Republicans, in 5-6 years. And that's how they continue to be. The deportation, that's taken a shit. Everything he's done is not working. So this Los Angeles thing is kind of his last ditch effort to get a win. And I'm sorry, he's not going to get that fucking win. He's just not. And then on top of this, he's got this whole situation in Los Angeles. On Saturday, he's got his parade. Now, for a long time, I've been saying, "Oh, I dread that parade. He's bringing all these tanks and shit in, and it sends the wrong message, and it certainly does." But I'm almost looking forward to it now because it's so outrageous and so stupid, and Donald Trump is going to fuck it up one way or another. So I'm expecting this to be a spectacle, but not the kind of spectacle that Donald Trump hopes it to be.
I just feel like the image that he has in his head and what he wants, like what he's seen happen in North Korea, that's not going to happen. And so his disappointment is going to be evident that day because it's never going to live up to his expectations. And all of this other stuff is going to completely overshadow that. I just feel like the parade is going to be an epic failure for him because what he has in his mind and what he's seen North Korea do is just not going to happen here. And hopefully, one of the best case scenarios would be that the weather doesn't cooperate and that it pours down rain. That would be one of the best case scenarios, that there's lightning and thunderstorms, which is very possible in DC in the summer.
But did you hear what he said today?
Yeah,
Somebody was
about
talking to him
Hitler.
about this parade.
Yeah.
He said if anybody protests this parade, there'll be huge force against them. Well, that's interesting. You can't have peaceful
Mhm.
protest. They called it peaceful protest on January 6, 2021, and that's cool. But if you have peaceful protest against Donald Trump, there's going to be huge force. As I
Yeah.
understand it, on that same day, we got the Pope going on to the Chicago White Sox game via video, and they're fucking loaded. And we're going to have this huge "No More Kings" or "No Kings" uh, uh, protest all over the country. I mean, we're going to have millions of fucking people like we've had in the past. And I don't know that one's been set up in Washington, D.C. I mean, there'll be protesters there, but I don't know if that no Kings protest is going to be there. But there are going to be millions of people everywhere, and that's going to take away attention from Donald Trump. This is all about Donnie getting attention. It's all about Donnie getting
Yeah.
applause. It's funny when he was talking about it, he said, yeah, that it happened because it's happening on my birthday. It's just happenstance. Whoop, who no. This is all about Donald Trump getting applause. He needs to be loved, and he's in a bad place right now because the vast majority of people in this country hate that motherfucker. There's a small base that still love him. There's politicians that are sycophants, but nobody likes this motherfucker, and it's the absolute worst thing Donald Trump could have happen to him.
And all the bots are back out in force. They like went away after the election and now they're back making like fake support for him. So I want everyone to be aware, do not engage with anyone who is a Trump supporter or seems to be on social media. The bots are very sophisticated now and will look like a real person and have a bio. Long gone are the days of the eggheads and the faceless bots. They are very sophisticated now and they have identities, and they like to create identities that are marginalized communities so that it seems like gay people are supporting Trump. So it seems like different communities of Latino or Black people are supporting him when they're absolutely not, right? So they like to pick a marginalized identity and then blast that out as support for him. So the bots are everywhere right now. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention, because you said, did you hear what Trump said today? And I thought you were going to say the comment he made about Hitler giving a speech at the Eiffel Tower,
I didn't hear
right?
about that
Or,
one. Wow.
all right. So he said something nonsensical. I think, or the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower, you can leave it in the comments if you guys have the exact quote about how Hitler gave a speech there and it worked out really well for us. I mean, it was completely nonsensical drivel. And if that clip doesn't get blasted all over, and I wish I knew the exact wording because when I saw it, I was just like, what? What? And that's what I thought you were talking about when you said, did you hear what Trump said today? Because he is so deep in psychosis, right? From being a
Yeah.
narcissist, from not being mentally stable ever as a person in his life, and now whatever is going on with him physically and his cognitive decline. And for me, most of the time, he looks high. He looks stoned. He has this
Yeah.
weird look on his face that he's like completely out of it most of the time. But I want everybody to see if you can find that clip about what he said about Hitler giving a speech. It was either at the Eiffel Tower or at the Statue of Liberty, but it was nonsensical. It made no sense. And this is absolutely frightening that a person who is this stupid, this mentally impaired, because of the cognition issues that he's having, that he is controlling 360 million people plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I,
Donald Trump it's kind of understood that he has been taking some sorts of drugs all of this time, Adderall or whatever. He's up 1 minute and then he's just kind of lackadaisical and slow other minutes. There's something going on with that. I don't know if you saw that picture. We got this stuff going on in Los Angeles, and that night, while this is going on, he decides to go to a UFC fight because there's a bunch of dumb fucks that support him at UFC fights, and they had a picture of him. They had a picture of him wearing some championship belt, and in one of his legs, you could see this line running down his legs, and people were coming out saying, "That's definitely a catheter. That's a catheter." Then I saw a shot from him in the back, and around his legs it seemed like what was under there was kind of braces or something.
mm-hmm.
So
That's what it looks
Donald
like to
Trump,
me. It looks like he wears leg braces and sometimes even a brace around his torso.
yeah, I mean this guy, they're propping this motherfucker up. They'll prop him up to the end. I swear to God, if he keels over one day, we probably won't hear about it for 3 or 4 days while they're trying to figure out some strategy in order to, you know, get him mounted or some shit and put put AI talking behind him. They are so desperate to keep this guy in power, and he's just failing on all levels, mentally, physically, chemically. This guy can't have a lot of time left.
No. And he's morbidly obese.
Yep.
And his diet is terrible. I mean, I'm guessing he's got congestive heart failure. He could have Parkinson's. He could have dementia or Alzheimer, even, which creates a whole another litany of medical issues. They did this to Reagan, right? Reagan was completely out of it at the end, but in the 80s, it was a lot harder. It was a lot easier to hide since we didn't have social media and we only had, 5 stations or whatever, or 4. Um, it was a lot easier for them to hide the decline that Ronald Reagan was in. But we're seeing this right in front of us, but the news isn't saying anything. No one is calling him out except for independent media. David Pakman calls him out and shows it a lot of times. A lot of guys on YouTube will show the clips of this cognitive decline, but and what's so infuriating is if Biden was acting like this, they wouldn't let it go, right? They would
Yeah.
never let it go. And that comment that he made this morning, that nonsensical comment about Hitler, that should be running on TV. We should have it all memorized because it should be running and running and running, but they won't do that. And the complicity and how everyone has just fallen in line. And I just wonder what is in it for everybody. I mean, they just paid everybody under the table. The fact that so many institutions have capitulated to this is just mind boggling. And the thing is, once you bow down to a narcissist, they own you. Trust me, I know this. Mike knows this. We were raised by narcissists. We understand when you show your weakness to them, when you bow down to them, they run over you. And it's just mind boggling to me that so many institutions all across the board did it. Even I want everyone to delete your Uber app. Okay. The head of Uber, I think this could have even been today. I saw it on the news this morning, said he completely supports this bill and that he's MAGA 100%. He's completely behind it. So I don't use Uber anymore. I suggest that everyone deletes your Uber Lyft. They don't treat their employees right. Lyft is a lot better and gives money to Democrats.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, there's a lot of, it's going to be interesting when the fall comes, because the fall is going to come. Donald Trump, they can try to cover up everything he says, but if the motherfucker keels over on stage and shits his pants, try to cover that shit up. And that's conceivable given his personal condition. There's going to be a horrible crash. Humpty Dumpty will fall. And when that
Mm-hmm.
happens, I hope it's embarrassing. I hope he does get some disease where it's obvious, like Parkinson's or something like that, because that would kill his ego. Then he wouldn't want to go in front of camera. Um, Donald Donald Trump is a very weak, fragile person, and it doesn't take much to take him down. And had media done that in 2015, we wouldn't be here. I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
redeemable in any mainstream media right now. None of it. None of it. Everybody, I tell you what, I grew up in the 60s. And when 60 Minutes capitulated, that told me that was the absolute end of any kind of journalism at all. If 60 Minutes bends to Donald Trump, there is no hope for mainstream media at this point. They were the paragon of journalism, and now they're not. I wouldn't watch 60 Minutes for anything because I can't trust them.
Yeah. Um, you're absolutely right. Humpty Dumpty is going to have a great fall. And it's funny what you said about him having something like very public. That's what all the psychics have been saying.
Oh, really?
All the psychics have been saying that he's going to have something very public. Many psychics have seen him having some sort of episode live on television. Many.
I hope so. I hope so
So,
because that's what it's
and
going to
most of the
take.
psychics are totally and completely wrong. Yes, most of them are completely. They all said that Kamala was going to be in March. So most of them are total grifters and full of it. But a couple that I do think are some semi-legitimate have said that they see that happening. It was really funny that you just said that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But the cover up is the problem, right? Is like they'll, and the thing is, nothing that MAGA is going to see is going to change their mind. The hardcore MAGA don't care if he keels over in front of them. They don't care if he talks nonsensically. Like I said, they don't care if they lose their 401ks. They don't care if they lose their retirement. And I know this because my family members told me they're okay losing their retirement as long as he's a tough guy and he hurts brown and black people.
Well, then I hope for their sake that actually happens because I think it'll be different
Well,
once they can't buy bread or pay for the fucking house and they're on the streets. Good luck with that because if you're coming to
yeah,
us for help,
yeah.
we don't believe in welfare. So fuck yourself.
Well, I have to say the MAGA, my MAGA family's behavior, and I want people in the comments to tell me as well, if you have MAGA family, their behavior is exponentially worse at this point. They are able to come out of the closet now and be the nasty people that they've always wanted to be. And they watch Fox
Yeah.
News all day. And so Fox News is nasty quips and snide comments, right? That's all
Right.
Fox News is. And all their roundtables, they're nasty to each other. They're nasty to the camera. They're nasty about the people that they talk about. And my family's the same way. They are the same way now. Nasty quips and side comments. I am so done with MAGA right now. I'm so done with my family. I'm so done with the immoral and un-American ideology of MAGA. I just, I can't wait. The day that this is over cannot come soon enough. And
Well,
all the people that are going to get hurt in the process is just, it's heartbreaking.
I think what you're seeing with your family and other MAGA people is the same thing we're seeing with Donald Trump. The grip is slipping. They're in desperation mode. And when you take a narcissist and you put them in a corner and there's no way out, that's when it gets dangerous because then they start fighting. They will run if given the
Yeah.
opportunity, but if they can't run, they'll just flail around and attack anybody and anything. We were talking about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and people saying, it's just a show.
No.
What you saw with Donald Trump and Elon Musk is stereotypical malignant narcissist because you've dealt with malignant narcissists. I have too. And they will, once they get angry and they're emotional about it, they will grab at the worst thing to say. I've told people before when I was a little kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, I had a dad that was a malignant narcissist, and he would lose his temper and he would say things. He wasn't violent toward the kids as much, probably my mom, but not the kids. He didn't spank the kids as much. I've got a couple of circumstances where it was pretty egregious. But he would say things like, you're a piece of shit, you're worthless, you're a tax write off, you're an embarrassment to a 6 or 7 year old kid. And when I was growing up, I always said, God, I don't ever want to do that to my kids. And then when I had kids, I said, why the fuck would I do that? That's abhorrent. But that's what was going on with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Somebody would say something, and the other guy would grab something bigger to say, not thinking about the ramifications after the fact. They were emotional. They were caught up in it. You're a poopy pants. Well, you're a big fat poopy pants, and it just kept going back and forth. And what happened there was the exact example of what we see with malignant narcissists. The idea that it was fake and it was WW, that's bullshit. It was real. And it got tamped down because they both got scared. They knew that both of them, they finally thought about it and they realized the other guy can burn me the fuck down. So we got to calm this down. But it's going to happen again. And they will react the same way. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Same thing with Gavin and Donald Trump. Gavin knows he's pressing them. Gavin knows he's going to make them go unhinged. And that's what he's trying to do. Gavin doesn't care because there's nothing Donald Trump can do to Gavin. But Elon and Donald, I'm going to take your contracts. I'm going to expose you about Jeffrey Epstein. This would be mutual destruction between Elon and Donald. And they're finally, somebody pulled them back and said, whoa, you better fucking back off or else. You got to think ahead. And they don't normally do that. But other people around them got them to say, settle down for a second. But they can't continue to do that. They can't control themselves.
Yeah, I think that we're just in a lull and then there will be more shots fired. And boy, you are exactly right. Narcissists go tit for tat. And I have never spent one day of my life not under narcissist abuse. I was born to narcissists, raised by narcissists, and I'm lucky that I didn't turn out that way. And I'm lucky that I amended the mean girl behavior that was being taught to me. So I was called fat, stupid, and ugly my entire life. I remember the first time I went to a real family's house. And I sat there with a real family that loved each other. They were not perfect. It was my friend's family. And I just remember going, this is what a family is?
It's
This
weird,
is what
yeah.
love is? This is how people are treated? My family is so critical and so mean. Any boyfriend or girlfriend you bring around, they are going to destroy them. They might destroy
Yeah.
them to their face, or they might be nice. And when they leave, they will destroy them behind their back. That's how I was raised, like I said. So I have an acute sensitivity to this. And the tit for tat is what they want. The egos cannot handle it. And they will do the most crazy things. I have stories upon stories that I could tell about the crazy stuff that narcissists do to a child. My family had a nickname for me when I was a child, a derogatory nickname. What does Dumpy do? Derogatory nicknames. Why do I call them derogatory nicknames? Because I'm going to match energy with these people. You're not going to call derogatory nicknames to people without some sort of pushback. So my pushback, and sometimes people get upset with me. Oh, you say Dumpy and Elmo. I'm not going to give them the respect. I'm going to match energy. They call people names. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to call people names too. And you have to get to this way with a narcissist so that they know you're not a doormat. Okay. Because if they know you're a doormat, they will keep walking on you and walking on you. And they have so much dirt on each other. They cannot fully extricate themselves for each other, but they can certainly try to sink each other's battleship. And it will not, it's temporarily stopped because they had people tamper it down. It's not over. It's not over.
Yeah.
And I do believe at some point there will be some sort of Epstein file that will emerge, either a video or pictures. That Jerry Irola, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is a hotelier who is in Saudi Arabia, and he's building their whole big mega hotel city. And he presented a picture of Dumpy from the 90s with people in the picture in Saudi Arabia. And he stood there with MBS, and they both Cheshire smiled as Dumpy's whole soul left his body. And he took and they both laughed, and it was clearly compromise. It was clearly Epstein file stuff. It was obvious to anyone. And that's why I come on here, because I can see things really clearly. And so I want to help people to be able to see things really clearly. Watch it without the sound. Watch it just the body language, and you can see exactly what's going on. That's their compromat material on him. This Jerry guy pulled out these pictures, and this is all on TV, right, in Saudi Arabia, pulled out these pictures and was laughing and laughing, showed them to Dumpy. Dumpy went, oh, took the picture, folded it up, and put it inside his suit pocket. So they were just telling him, you better be in line, or else this is what we're going to do. I do believe at some point, and it could be after he's out of office, but hopefully it will be before, is that something will come out. There will be some sort of footage, pictures, something, because Epstein filmed everything. And so there was actually some talk on X from one of the Jane Does, I don't want to say her name, that there is footage of Richard Branson, Bill Clinton, and Dumpy, and that's the pictures. That's what was alluded to is what these pictures of what the blackmail material is. So there's going to be a lot of people that get taken down in this, and it's fine by me. If Bill Clinton gets taken down, he gets taken down. They all need to be exposed. Richard Branson gets taken down. If he was part of this, he needs to be exposed too.
Absolutely.
But the thing about narcissists, they can't get along. They can't have a normal relationship. They can't maintain normal friendships. They can't do any of that. So it's always going to go sideways with a narcissist every single time. And I've had bosses that are narcissists. I've had friends that are narcissists, boyfriends, my parents, my family. I mean, I've just seen it, and they always will blow it up. They just can't have a friendship that goes the distance. They just
No.
can't.
No, once people get close to them, they see the cracks, and
The
people will run away from them.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
I,
And so that was just round one with Dumpy and Trump, with Elmo and Trump. We're going to have round two. It's coming.
I want to say this about people who are raised by narcissists or people like you're talking about. There's only two ways those children can end up. If you're raised by a narcissist, you can be a cowering little coward and curl up in the corner and just take everything. Or you become somebody like you or me who are kind of, not trying to be arrogant here, but badasses. People generally, especially narcissists, they hate confrontation. They're good yelling from a distance. They're like the kids in the car in high school are racing away in a car saying, I'll kick your ass, because they're safe. They don't like confrontation. And so because I know they don't like confrontation, and I don't give a shit about confrontation. I know when I'm right, and I'll be confrontational too, and I know they will cower when you do that. So you either end up just this sniveling person who's been put upon all your life, or you become somebody who pushes back, become a bully for the bullies. And it's funny, every time I talk to Trumplefucks and they think I'm liberal or Democrat, and they'll come up to me and want to say something smart to me. Here's what I know for sure, at least with Trumplefucks. I'm smarter than they are. I can talk longer, I can talk louder, and I can talk with some substance as opposed to what they are. And when I go after them like that, perfectly calm, I don't yell and scream, they don't know what to do with that. They're expecting some wimpy liberal to go, oh my God, I don't want confrontation. No, motherfucker, I love confrontation. Let's go. Let's fucking do it. And that's how you treat those people. That's how you treat Donald Trump and everybody. And it sounds like that's what you're doing too. And what they will do is run away from you, and they'll avoid you like the plague because they don't want a fight. They want to bully somebody and have somebody that's not going to fight back. They don't like people like you and I. And so that's why we have to do it.
Yeah, we're a threat to them because we will expose them. And I got to say, my narcissistic family is really good at tricking people. They are really good at it. They can seem like the most wonderful people, but it doesn't last for long. If you're around them enough, you'll see who they really are. You have to do a lot of work on yourself if you were raised this way, because they'll be happy to take a little protege and groom them. And I have family members who have taken proteges and groomed other family members. And so I'm done with them too. They've groomed cousins of mine that are just nasty, disgusting, Republican little bleh. And it's the thing that's just amazing to me is they all call themselves Christian. That's the most, is like, they're literally sadists who want brown and black people to be hurt, and then they go off to church. And that is just, the hypocrisy of it is something I'm not willing to be silent about anymore. In 2016, I had just started my healing business, right? I had left producing and I was getting this healing business going, and I didn't want to be divisive. And I was registered as an independent from the time I very first registered to vote until Dumpy got elected. And then I realized I would never vote for a Republican, and I didn't want to be an independent anymore. And so I became a Democrat. but I'm not really a Democrat or a Republican either. I've always been an independent free thinker, and I have just as many problems with the Democratic Party as I do with the Republican Party, but they're just not trying to hurt uh, marginalized people the same way. So I can get behind them a little more. But in 2016, I wanted to still be love and light. I still wanted to not alienate MAGA clients, and I wanted to be one source, right? And so I didn't say much, right? And that was a big mistake. And when he got reelected again, I decided really when Kamala was running that no matter what happened, I was going to speak up because I couldn't stay silent like I had done before. And I think part of why I had stayed silent back in 2016 was because of the narcissistic abuse, because I wasn't fully out of it. So I was still in that environment of, ooh, am I safe to say something? Because the thing about when you're raised by narcissists is you're always in trouble and it's always your fault. So you have a lot of clearing out of that to do, right? Because I was raised thinking it was always my fault. I couldn't do anything right. And I was always in trouble. I was always being grounded or being reprimanded or penalized, or something was being done to me for some behavior that they didn't like. So I felt like I needed to come out of this shell and start talking about the issues and the things that are important to Americans. And I don't want anyone to be afraid, right? And that's what they want to do. They want to shut us down. They want us to be afraid. They don't want us to say anything. Another tactic of a narcissist, right? And you liberate yourself when you speak up. You
You
liberate
do.
yourself. They don't have power over you once you speak up.
I tell you, the one thing about doing TikToks in this podcast, I've always spoke my mind to the chagrin of a lot of my family, because people aren't used to people just saying what they think and what they mean, regardless of whether or not somebody might disagree with you. I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me, but you better have your fucking shit in order if you're going to argue with me about it. You better know what you're talking about, because I'm going to push you on it. Um, One of the things about doing TikToks, and one of the things I like doing in the podcast, is I'm in the rare position that I don't work for anybody. I don't have to worry about somebody not buying something from me or getting fired from a job. My family isn't going to come say, stop doing that, because, well, they know better and they typically agree with me. So I have complete freedom to say whatever I want. And if nothing else, doing the TikToks and the podcast has been very cathartic. I get to come here every day and say exactly what I think. It's not couched in any niceties or political correctness. I just say what the fuck I say, and people say you can't do that. You can't swear so much. But you know what? By having that freedom and doing it and not caring whether people follow or not, it's turned into people do follow, people do listen, and people do pay attention. So if you can get to that point of total freedom where you just tell the truth, speak your mind, say it the way you want to say it, there will be people that hate you. And trust me, I know there are people that hate me, and I don't give a fuck. But there are people that like you too. You can play the game and try to appease everybody, but there's people that still hate you. They just don't tell you. Just do you,
Yeah.
be you, be truthful to yourself and speak your mind. And God damn it, I tell you what, as a 65-year-old man, it's very freeing. I don't worry about shit when I go to bed because I've said all I had to say, and either people listened or they didn't listen, but I'm not hiding. I'm not holding anything in. I get to say it. And I wish more people had that opportunity, and I understand why some don't.
Yeah, I mean, narcissists are the phoniest people on the face of the earth. And
Oh,
my antidote for that is my authenticity. That's my antidote, is
right.
that I'm completely authentic. And if you don't like it, that's totally fine. If you don't want to have a healing with me, that's totally fine. And you know what? If you're in a MAGA and you want to make an appointment with me, you can. And we can talk about what's going on in your heart and why you feel that you hate other people that you don't even know. So they can still make an appointment with me. They're welcome to. And we can talk about why they hate themselves, why their life isn't going the way they want it to. And I will help them manifest their best life. If you spend an hour with me in a healing session, I will change your life. I get told it all the time. I had a special calling to do this because there is something about how I can activate people, right? How I can help them see who they are. But you know why? I can help people see who they are and help them be authentic because I did it.
Yeah.
Because I did it. And
And if you
The
can actually do that, that's invaluable because,
yes.
I haven't gone through anything like that. And I don't know that I'm doing it right, but I do feel authentic and I do feel free for that reason. And if
Mhm.
that is the end result of what you're doing for people, fucking worth it.
Yeah, and that's why people make appointments, and that's why people who have tried therapy and tried all these different things and still don't feel good about themselves do go to alternative types of healing because there is a different approach to it. The approach is that I take is to be your true authentic self. And like you said, if people don't like it, honestly, that's really none of my business. That's on them. I love myself. And I've worked really hard to get to a place where I love myself because my family did their best job to make sure that I never did. And that's the other reason why I want to talk about narcissists. So people understand is they want you to be scared. They want you to be completely powerless, and we have to take back our power. There is truly nothing outside of ourselves that controls us. Everything is inside of us, and we are completely disempowered when we let outside forces, seen or unseen, because even spiritual people say there are unseen forces controlling your life. I saw an asshole on LinkedIn say that yesterday, and I called him out. No, spirituality 101, quantum physics, you create your own reality. You choose whether or not to give the power away to someone like Donald Trump. I'm choosing not to. And I suggest everybody do the same because it will feel terrible if you give your power away to him. Like I said, I feel like in 2016, I did a little bit. I was super depressed after the election. I didn't talk about it. And I have a YouTube channel that is not active, but I had a pretty big platform. I have like 7,000 people on my YouTube channel, but
Oh,
I just didn't say anything. And like I said, I don't want to have any regrets like that moving forward. I want to know that I laid it all on the field and I said, this is fascism, this is authoritarianism, this is a wannabe dictator, and we cannot allow this. And the people in your life that think this is okay, you need to really examine who those people are and if they are really adding value to their life. Because when I looked around and saw the MAGA people in my life, they are not adding any value.
I was thinking about this 30 years from now when I'm not here anymore, presumably. I'm not here, but my grandkids come across a trove of grandpa and his videos from TikTok and podcasts. They're either going to say, holy fuck, or holy fuck, one way or another, it's going to make an impact. They're either going to be proud of it or not so proud of it. But even that, I can't control that. You're exactly right. I haven't gone through some of the spiritual stuff, but I do realize now, by virtue of my age, whatever you think, whatever you say, whatever you believe is what your life will be. I
Yep.
came on TikTok and said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have people listen to me. And everybody said, that's fucking crazy. Well, it worked because I believed I could do it. And it's the same with everything that I've learned to do. I wish I learned it much younger, because I was like everybody else going, well, what will people think? Who cares? Who cares what people think? Believe what you believe and you will get what you want. And it fucking works. And I'm not a spiritual worker or anything like that. All I can tell you, it worked for me. It
Yeah.
works for me, and presumably it can work for anybody else too.
Yes, and it is quantum physics. And if you actually watch about quantum physics, it's all explained how energy works, and you can very easily understand it. The universe is giving us back our energy, right? There, whatever we're admitting, our thoughts, our feelings, our vibe, the universe is giving you a carbon copy back. And so when you decide that something outside of you can control you, you've just given all of your power away. And all of your manifestations and everything that you want to create in your life, you've now given control to other people. And I know for myself, my life dramatically changed when I called back that energy and I stopped doing that. And
Absolutely.
the people in Los Angeles, that's what you have to understand about people in this city. He picked the wrong place. He
Yeah,
picked the
he
wrong
did pick the
place.
wrong
He
place.
picked the
He
wrong
did.
place. He picked the wrong people. Most people are like me and moved out here to come out here for a dream. Okay. So when you're that type of person that you have left your hometown, that you, against what everybody said, to come out here to have a dream to be an actor or a dream to work in television or film or whatever dream you had of why you moved out here, you got told you were crazy before you came, and then you came out here and you paid your dues and you've gone through the school of hard knocks out here. It is hard to make a living and to thrive in LA, especially if you've come from another town. It is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. You can get killed by traffic, by literally parking tickets alone in the first week. When I first moved here, I mean, the parking, I can't even tell you how many tickets I had in the first month. You have to read signs all the way up and down the street to make sure you can park there. So this town will spit you up, I mean, in days flat. I can't tell you how many people moved here. I worked with them for a little bit at a restaurant, and they went right back to Portland. They went right back to Omaha. They couldn't even make it a month. So that's the kind of people that come to LA. And then the people that are from here have already gone through the riots. They have already gone through all the tumultuous stuff that LA has been through, and we will make it through. LA is the cultural, pop culture trend leader of the whole world, right? It all starts here. And so the people in this town, it's just, and I just cannot tell you how much we love our Hispanic friends here, and how much the Latino community is so vitally important to this town. And we are not going to allow our Latino friends to be treated like this. I don't care if they're documented, undocumented, they are a human being, and going into a school during a graduation and pulling a kid out, going into Home Depot, they're going into hotels down the street and pulling people out. That is not... Sorry, I just had a phone call. I should have had it on Do Not Disturb.
That's all right. You're still there. Now you're sideways.
Am I back?
But that's
okay.
right.
Okay.
Now you're back. Now you're back.
All right. So how rude! Someone called me. Okay. That lets you know that the whole border thing and everything they were saying about Biden was just complete nonsense, right? If they really cared about securing our borders, none of this would be happening. They would not be terrorizing, and meanwhile they're calling them deadbeats and then pulling them out of their job. It's just,
yeah.
It's literally laughable. If they were very serious about dealing with the issues that we have with immigration and getting it taken care of, then they would be at the border, not at a middle school graduation.
I want to talk about something you brought up earlier, and I went back to the topic we were talking about. You were talking about the information we've been getting about the election on November 5th. We know that there's an investigation and a court case going on with Rockland County, New York, about some irregularities as what happened there. And I've read it, and it does seem pretty fucking weird. And then you brought up this article by Economic Times talking about how Kamala may have won. And you were going to go off on that. And I may push back on a couple of things with this, but that's okay. Go ahead. Tell me what you were thinking about it and what you know about it.
So the first time I came on the podcast was the day after the election. That was my very first appearance. And obviously that went a little bit different than we thought it was going to go when we scheduled it. And I had not slept all night. I was up all night. I did not even sleep for 1 second. I was hysterically crying in the middle of the night. And I was up all night, and I knew. I'm like, they stole this. And I had said it to a couple of YouTubers prior to the election when Dumpy was saying, I don't need your votes. You're never going to have to vote again. When he was saying all that kind of stuff, I was like, uh-oh. And even when he first brought Elon on, I was like, Starlink. I mean, all of my intuitive sense, all of my spidey senses were just like red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm pretty sure that several YouTubers blocked me, because I would say in the comments, like, Ellen's going to steal this election. Once she wrote back and she was like, the Biden administration is in charge. That would never happen. Oh, really? Oh, okay. The election anomalies became clear through smartelections.us and Election Truth Alliance. And the bullet ballots were, and a bullet ballot is when someone only votes for Donald Trump, right? Only voted for the top of the ticket, didn't vote all the way down. Normally across the country, you have like 1% of bullet ballots. This election, we had 12%.
All right.
So the anomalies started coming pretty soon, but at the beginning, I will openly admit it was just an intuitive sense based on what Dumpy had said and just my own intuition that these narcissists, they don't care about winning fair and square. The 2016 election was stolen. Look up Reality Winner. Okay. They know exactly how that happened. It's all in the Mueller report. They had to do it at the end of the day. Sherry Jacobus actually explained really well on her YouTube channel how they did it at the end of the day, where they had all of those internal polling numbers were all given out, right? And so then they could go in and strategically change the votes in those 3 swing states and 3 counties so that Dumpy won by 77,000 votes in 2016. Now, it didn't work in 2020, and that's why he was so pissed. They were planning on stealing it again, but too many people mailed in their ballot. It didn't work. The mail-in votes for Biden destroyed their plan for 2020. That's why he's so angry, because they were going to rig it again like he did in 2016. Like I said, look up Reality Winner and the paperwork that she released to Mother Jones. She went to prison for several years for what she released. God bless her. So this anomalies in Rockland County, I watched the numbers today. This is going to start the wildfire. Okay. So narcissists don't win anything fair and square. He has no intention of ever leaving. They have no intention of ever having a free and fair election again. This is all my opinion, but based on facts. I don't come on here and just spout things out of nowhere. All of my theories are always based on facts, and I will tell you where I got my theories. You can go to my Blue Sky page, and if you want to see the people that I follow, where I get some of my information, just go to my Blue Sky, Kristen Healer, see who I follow, and then you can start to get the information that I get. So Tina Peters went to jail. Tina Peters is in prison right now in Colorado. Tina Peters was a Republican election worker in Colorado who stole the software and gave it to Elon and Trump, which is, I believe, how they started to get into the system. And it is harder to do on a smaller scale, like with local elections. It's a lot easier to do with a federal election in the tabulations. And also, if you don't know who Tina Peters is, do yourself a favor and put in Tina Peters sentencing on YouTube and watch that judge light her up for the software that she stole and gave to 45. So there are many reasons why I say I believe this was stolen. Also, but it doesn't make sense. All of the new voters that registered, all of the crowds that she had, the fact that Where's My Ballot was trending on every social media when people were trying to find their ballots and couldn't find them. I don't believe he won fair and square, just because I understand narcissists. They don't win anything fair and square. They're not going to leave anything to chance. They're going to make sure they're going to win. They're going to cheat and steal and do whatever they can to make themselves a winner, whatever it is. That's just how they operate. But I'm just glad that it's finally coming out, and I hope that it all comes out. I hope it all comes out.
After the November 5th election, I was as surprised as anybody, because all logic, all common sense that said that Kamala Harris would win. Common sense and logic. So when people afterwards were saying, he cheated, something happened with the machines, this happened, that happened. And I said, if you're telling me that Donald Trump or the Republicans cheated, yeah, probably. But until there's some evidence and until there's somebody with the balls to actually do something, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to say there wasn't something criminal that happened, something that stole the election. But if nobody does anything about it, it might as well be perfectly legal, because nothing's ever going to happen. Now, when people come to me about Rockland, New York, I think I look at the numbers, I'm going, yeah, that's a little fucked up. Something's off there. And then I hear about this Economic Times. First thing I did about Economic Times is I went to see who they were. Because there's all kinds of people out there with good names that say shit. So I looked up Economic Times. I found out it's in India. That doesn't really bother me that they're in India. I looked at the reviews. The reviews said they're a little left, they're a little right. Some said they're a little right. Some said they're center. They didn't have bad reviews, but they didn't have great reviews. And I don't know if it's because they're newer or whatever. To me, what I see from this is, could all this stuff be true? I'm guaranteeing you it's true. But where it will go from here, I see this, if nothing else, the beginning of the unraveling. And I'm afraid that a lot of people are out there going, oh, we found it. We're blowing the roof off this motherfucker. It's over. Kamala will be president tomorrow. And that's not going to happen. Yeah. This is going to take some time. And we need to take the time to get it done properly. This is the beginning of the unraveling. And the fact that Donald Trump and the Republicans did something sketchy, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, based on Kamala losing, which went against all logic to me, tells me something did happen. But until we can prove it and take it to the powers that be, and the only powers that be in this country that matter anymore is the general public, because the DOJ ain't going to do shit about it right now. Yeah. So it's got to be exposed to the public. And until everybody knows what's going on, it really doesn't mean anything yet. It tells us that we may have been right, but we've got a ways to go. And when I go on TikTok and people go, oh, we won. No, you didn't yet, because we've been through this before
Yeah.
and you've been disappointed before. Just fucking play it out. Just sit back. Don't claim a win. Don't do a Donald Trump and claim a win before you got to win. Let's just watch and see what's fucking happens.
Yeah. The thing is that all the proof can come out that they messed with the tabulations, they changed votes from Kamala to Trump, that they used Jim Crow laws to dump people off the voter rolls. They did that in North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada, like really bad, like thousands and thousands of Kamala voters. In Georgia, it was something like every man named Robert Garcia got dumped. I don't remember if that was the exact name, but there was a woman in Georgia and North Carolina that presented like 60,000 names, and the Jim Crow laws just dump all those people. She says, all of these Robert Garcias don't live here anymore. Dump them all off the rolls. And so the red state says, okay. And so your vote didn't count. So they did it in so many different ways. And so even if all the different ways.
Sorry, I have to change my headset.
All right.
Can you hear me? I had to change my
Yeah,
headset.
I got you.
Okay. If all the different ways that they cheated comes out, because they didn't just do it in one way, they had to, I think that it was more like probably, I mean, it could have even been 70-30, but more like probably 60-40. They had a narrower margin to work with in 2016, so it was easier. I think if we actually end up finding the real numbers, this is going to be she won by a landslide. But the thing is, so say we have all the information and we have everything in black and white, and the Rockland County moves forward and discovery, and we find out all these votes didn't get counted, Congress would have to nullify the election. Is that going to happen? No.
Not currently.
Not currently. So I agree with you on that, where I want it all to come out so that we all know, because we can't have these type of secrets. And we need Americans in the world to know that we are not as bad as we thought, right? That not as many people betrayed us, that not as many people were stupid enough to vote for him. And we need the world to know that. And we need as Americans to know that, and to give ourselves some faith back in each other, because to walk around and thinking all these people voted for me to die from a miscarriage is very upsetting, right? That all these people don't care if I die from a miscarriage. They're fine with it, right? They're fine, with throwing Americans, born citizens in gulags, right? So until we have some way to do something about it, it's only just uncovering the truth. So I agree with you that I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you know how I think. I don't think we're having another election. I think he's sending Congress home. If we don't have a huge revolution and topple this regime, in my estimation, there's no more elections. We will live under a dictatorship. American-born citizens will be put in concentration camps, and they will start systematically killing who they believe are undesirables to get the population down to what they deem as controllable. The Project 2025 agenda is so horrific. It is so immoral. It is so evil. It's so un-American, and they are succeeding right now. And I just don't see how, and the psychics say it too, that Kamala's going to be president this summer. First they were saying March, then they're saying this summer. I think that this can all come out, and even all the Epstein stuff can come out, but until Congress actually does something, and they could actually end this tomorrow. They could put an end to this tomorrow, but they are all cowards, and so they won't. So I don't understand how we could think that all of a sudden we'd be able to trust Congress, or all of a sudden we'll be able to trust the Supreme Court, and they'll rightfully put in Kamala into the rightful spot of what she deserves. I don't see that happening, because I don't think Congress has a spine or enough wherewithal to do that.
Yeah, I will say this. I've heard a lot of people say, well, there'll be no more elections and it will be a dictator. I have a lot more confidence in enough of the country. I don't see that happening. I mean, over and above the evil that they're trying to rot, they're also very stupid. They're very ignorant. They're incompetent. They're showing us every day. That may be their intention. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off. The people of this country are already revolting to a certain extent. and it will get worse and worse as time goes on, because Donald Trump will continue to fail and continue to try to double down and triple down. If we do have elections in 2026, and I personally think we will, because the pushback will be too hard. I may be wrong. I've been wrong before. But when we get, say we get control of the House and the Senate, what that will mean is that we get to expose all the crimes. We don't have a DOJ that will do anything. We can't pass a bill that Donald Trump would sign unless we have a supermajority. So all we can do the next couple of years after the midterms, assuming Democrats get some power, is investigation after investigation, which is pretty much what the Republicans did. The difference will be there will be evidence, and they will expose some things. This is one of the reasons I've said, too, if you want the end of Donald Trump at this point, at this moment, it's going to have to come at the hands of Republicans, because they have the control of the House and the Senate. So that means over and above Donald Trump, we need to pressure the Republicans in their respective positions. I mean, we got one guy that said, yeah, I'm retiring after the next vote, a Republican, because he knows what's coming.
I saw that.
He knows it's going to be bad. He doesn't want to be part of that. He wants to save his ass while he still can. Not everybody's smart enough to do that, but there's already some problems with the Republican Party. They're seeing the polls. They're seeing all this shit. I personally think the Republicans, if Donald Trump doesn't keel over on a stage someplace, I think the Republicans ultimately take him out by way of impeachment or whatever they do. I just don't see Donald Trump being successful, because he's never been successful in anything he's done other than winning elections. And now we're finding out that may have been a scam
that didn't
too.
Happen either. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent. When I say I don't think we're going to have elections and they have no intention of giving up power, that's what they want. We have to disrupt that.
Right.
Do you truly think that they're going to give up the gavel and give up the power willingly? No. January 6th.
No.
There is no way Mike Johnson is going to hand that gavel back over to a Democrat. That's not going to happen. We're going to have to force it. So that's when I say they are planning on not having elections. And if they do, they're going to be sham elections like in Russia. They're already in the system. That's why I keep saying Tina Peters. They're already deep in there. Okay? They already have all of the codes embedded. Doge and those incels have made sure that the Trojan horses, the malware, the backdoors, and all of that is deeply embedded. And so we have to have our whole mainframes rebuilt. I talked about this on a previous episode. I have a friend that works in IT for a major studio. He builds mainframes. The only other equivalent of the federal system mainframes, how large they are and the amount of data they have, are the Hollywood studios that are cataloging every film and they have this equivalent amount of data. And what I have talked to him about is absolutely frightening. He said the whole system has to be rebuilt. He literally said to his wife, do you want to move to DC in a couple of years? Because the job opportunity for me is going to be huge there, because he's going to be the type of person that they hire to come in there to rebuild all that, because he has the experience to do it. So if we think that they just fudged a couple of numbers, went in there and just came out and don't have their fingers still in there, wrong. They do. They've had their fingers in there since 2016 when they stole the election then. And I know I'm getting fired up, but it just makes me I just want to rest, pull my hair out. Is they're not going to give up power. They did not create all of this and do a power grab in this fashion to then hand the gavel back over to Democrats. And if we think we can trust Merrick Garland, we should have already had all this shit handled in the 4 years when Biden was president, and we didn't. There was nobody held accountable. There was none of those Congress people were held accountable for their part in January 6th. And they all got reelected in the last midterms. So when I say I don't think we're going to have elections, they're not going to hand over the power. Under the current climate, that is their agenda. We have to disrupt that so that we can have free and fair elections, so we can get our IT systems back. And we all need new social security numbers. And we haven't even talked about all of the AI and all the information gathering that they've done, right? So when they have all that information to gather, they can also affect the outcome of elections. So I just don't believe for 1 second after January 6th that this man is going to leave any other way than feet first or being dragged out by the military. It's one or the other. And I don't believe that JD Vance is gonna leave either. Okay, he is just as bad, if not worse, because he has cognitive abilities. He doesn't have dementia, but he's just as evil and is just in bed with the Project 2025 people. So like I said, I don't mean to scare people, but when people say, "Oh, we're gonna get him in the midterms," I literally just want to laugh because I'm like, you honestly think that they've done all of this to give up power to where they could end up in legal jeopardy? No, no. They
Well, I
have
think
no intention of leaving. Like I said, we have to disrupt that. We have to be the ones to make sure that we have elections, and that means overthrowing this regime.
absolutely. Well, I agree. A revolution of some sort. You know, the thing about it is you talk about the breakdown in the system in terms of the elections, but we've got a breakdown in the system in everything. The Republican Party
Yeah.
is broken. The elections process is broken. The Democratic Party, for all intents and purposes, is broken. Um, when Donald Trump was first elected, I kiddingly said, "Yeah, Donald Trump will destroy the Republican Party and he may tear down the whole fucking system." And I said that would be hard, but maybe that's what we need to do. We have problems. They're becoming exposed because Donald Trump is a fucking bull in a china shop. These are all problems that were probably there before Donald Trump, and now they're being exposed to us. Maybe this is a good thing. It'll be a painful thing, but maybe our entire system of government is a problem. Maybe we need to come out of this with some brand new fucking remedy for the problems we're having. And I'm talking to the Democrats too. They can't even come together over anything. We got
Yeah.
two factions in there that are fighting against each other. We have a government that's supposed to be working for us, and they're too fucking busy working for themselves, or they're so convoluted that they can't get anything done. It's just the whole system is fucked, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And that's because it was started on white supremacy by rich men who didn't want to pay their taxes. It was our
Right.
country was built on the backs of Native Americans and slaves. We've never, ever, ever reconciled our karma for that. We have not. We've never apologized. We have never we just swept it under the rug. And Ed made a good point one time. We didn't deal with the Confederates the right way after the Civil War. And for those folks in the South, the Civil War never ended. They just took the Ku Klux Klan robe and put it in the closet, but they still have it. Okay. And it goes
Right.
all the way back to the plantations and the fact that we didn't deal with the insurrectionists back in the Confederacy, that we let all of them off the hook and we let them build statues in their honor. How freaking disgusting. Okay. And I've talked about this before too. If you really do a deep dive into the forefathers, each one of them was more disgusting than the next. They were pedophiles. They were making moonshine. They were smoking marijuana. They didn't want to pay their taxes. They were literally a basket full of deplorables. Benjamin Franklin was sort of interesting. Thomas Jefferson was interesting. George Washington had some interesting stuff, but if you look at their personal lives, it is utterly disgusting. So that's what we were built on. And talk about our systems, where I learned from my IT friend, these mainframes were built in the 70s and the 80s. All of our systems are completely obsolete. They are all antiquities. So it needs to be rebuilt anyway. But we have to have a country that has reconciled our karma, and that is a country that is equal for everyone. And even though, we don't like the way things are going now, you're absolutely right. It wasn't good to begin with. Right? We have had a lot of problems, and the American dream, yes, it does exist, but does it exist for everyone? Is it available to everyone? Well, that's questionable, right? That's questionable, especially if you talk to a marginalized community. And the thing is right now is, who's going to lead this? Do we have a dynamic leader that can help us get out of this? Do we have a Congress that can pass bills and get things done? Can we actually hold the people accountable who have done this to our country? I mean, these are tall orders. And we saw over the last 4 years that none of that happened. And I know I had high hopes. When Merrick Garland walked into the DOJ and everybody was crying and clapping, I thought, oh my God, we're going to get him. And nothing. They kicked the can down the road. Nobody got held accountable. We don't even know who planted those pipe bombs that were meant to kill Kamala back then. We still don't know who that was. I cannot believe that they have not that they don't know who that person is. They have to know who it is. Why has that person not been prosecuted? Who are they that they're above the law? So yes, we have a ton of problems, but we need we need like an overhaul.
Yeah, we do need an overhaul. And that name of the pipe bomber is in probably the same safety deposit box where Jeffrey Epstein's list is. There's too many people that are too powerful. People worry about Jeffrey Epstein's list and how Donald Trump doesn't want to get it out. There are fuckers in Hollywood and in New York that are just as powerful, just as moneyed, and they're trying to keep it shut down too. So we've got a lot of wealthy people, powerful people trying to keep us from understanding. I will say this, what I learned about dealing with bullies as I grew older, and this is something we haven't seen with Merrick Garland or anything else. You got to knock a bully down, but you got to make sure they fucking stay down because they will come back to haunt you. If somebody walks up to me in a street and tries to do something to me, I can hit him and knock him down, but I better knock that fucker out. Otherwise, he'll be jumping on my back as I'm walking away. And the same can be said for all these people. They're like cancer. A little teeny bit, it will spread and it will take over everything. So we've got to be, as a people, we've got to be strong going after these people. We got to take them out, and we got to take them out for good permanently. We got to have that killer instinct. Otherwise, we'll be doing this fight over and over and over again.
Yeah. And Brazil, when they had their insurrection, they had 1,500 people arrested within like 48 hours. They tried that down there, and that Bolsonaro can't run for office, I think, for 10 years. They fired them up. They did it right. And we just didn't. And Merrick Garland failed us. Mitch McConnell could have ended this in the first impeachment. He could end this tomorrow. They don't, because they don't want to. They want power. And that's also the problem. One thing I want to touch on in Congress is most Congress people seem to me that this is not about noble service anymore. It's about self-enrichment. Yeah. And it's just about self-enrichment. They go into Congress and they have no money, and then they come out and they're multimillionaires, and it's disgusting. So the overhaul that has to happen is so deep within our country that I just don't see how it doesn't happen without a revolution. We have to have such a deep reckoning with the problems that our country has created here and globally in our history. And until we start to rectify these things, until we start to address them, Kristi Noem will get off, JD Vance will become president, Marco Rubio will become president after that, Don Jr. It will just, like I said, they have no intention of giving up power. They have no intention of having anything fair and square. The intentions that they have for this country is to destroy it. And the people at Project 2025 are not dumb. That's where I get I agree with you. The junk drawer, the cabinet, everybody in the administration, they are so underqualified for their jobs. They're all power hungry. The majority of them seem to have some sort of substance abuse problem. But the people in Project 2025 are not dummies. They are not. Leonard Leo and all those people, they are not dummies. They know what they're doing, and it's very calculated. The only thing that I just keep thinking is the people that run Wall Street and the people that make money off the economy doing well can't be happy about this. And those powers that be are not people that we know their names, but they control a lot. And if they pull the ripcord on Dumpy, then the Republicans will pull the ripcord on Dumpy. But it's not actually going to be the Republicans. It's going to be their corporate donors that don't like that what's happening in LA is negatively affecting the economy and thus their bottom line. And then they will pull the ripcord. But is Mitch McConnell even go to work? He's not in good health. So I don't know how we would even go about an impeachment or Article 25. It's just, like I said, it will come, in my opinion, from the corporate donors who tell the Republicans, pull the ripcord because we don't like what's happening with the economy and our bottom line. And the one that did surprise me about the Epstein files, I do have to say, is Richard Branson. When I heard that, I was stunned. When I saw that on X, that he was part of this, I just didn't think he was that type of guy. And I'm sure there's way more of those types that are that are compromised in that way and that are pedophiles in that way. But Richard Branson, I do have to say, was surprised. And I thought he was a better guy than that. But I do actually remember one time he said that He was in New York and he met Trump and they had dinner and he said it was the worst dinner of his life because all Trump did was talk about getting revenge for 2 hours and all the people he was going to get revenge on. And then when I heard that it was this particular set of tapes that had Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, and Dumpy, I wondered, was that dinner that he had after they had a fun party at Epstein's and that's why he was having dinner with him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You said one thing. You said, and a lot of people say this, they're going to destroy this country. I got news. They already fucking did. Now, it's not a matter of saving the country. It's rebuilding the country. It's rebuilding the country is what we need to do.
I totally agree. I will amend my words. They have already destroyed this country. When I'm talking about like they want to destroy this country, and what I'm about to say is really awful, they want to kill people.
Yeah.
They want to kill people.
They are killing people.
That's where they're at. Yeah, they want to kill who they consider undesirables, which are disabled people, brown and black people, elderly, autistic, anyone they consider an undesirable, anyone who's not them, right? They would be happy to see us go to because we don't agree with them. So yeah. I'll give you that caveat of I don't want to give them kudos, right? Because I don't think it's going to work either. But like I said, I want to explain to people what they really have plans because we need to understand what they're really trying to do and how devious and evil it is. And how the more we speak about it and the more we explain, even though, like I said, I don't think this is all going to happen. I know that's what they want to happen. It's up to us to stop it. And that's what people in LA are doing right now. We're rebuking authoritarianism. We have a wonderful quality of life here in LA, and this regime is not going to take that from us. So I think none of us really realized what authoritarian rule was going to look like. We saw North Korea and Russia and China and the way they live, and we didn't understand when it came here what it would look like, but it's here and it looks different than what we thought. So people don't realize. Even like I had a relative who's not a MAGA who said, we almost live in a police state. I said, almost. We do live in a police state. We do. Yeah. And it was interesting because we were having a conversation about how to keep some Latino friends of ours safe because we don't want to, basically you can't trust any MAGA. And if you know undocumented people, you have to assume that the MAGA people you know will turn them in. And you have to, as a white person, help protect who you need to protect. And actually, I've had this conversation with family members, and I just couldn't even believe we're having this conversation about the fact that we need to keep certain things from MAGA people because they just can't be trusted. They just can't be trusted.
They cannot be trusted. Well, I'm going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast as expected. A robust conversation. People love hearing from you. I love talking to you because you have so many interesting insights, and you come from Los Angeles and very timely in that respect. But I want to thank you for coming on. And again, I'll encourage you, come on as much as you want. I would much rather talk to you than sit here and pontificate myself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for everybody that's watching. And you can come to Blue Sky and find me. I'm Kristen Healer at Blue Sky. Come say hi and I will follow you back. I talk to all kinds of people from the podcast and I love chatting with everybody. And we're going to get through this. Like I said, I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but I do want to help people understand that knowledge is power and the regime is not going to succeed. We will take our country back. I'm not sure how and I'm not sure when, but I know it will happen. And I just want to send everybody lots of love and a big hug. And this weekend is going to be a lot. This weekend's going to be a lot. Okay. So you need to take really good care of yourself and make sure your nervous system doesn't get overloaded because this weekend is going to be epic.
It is. And I will just tell folks, I'm 65 years old. I got this face and this attitude. I'm still fucking here. So don't worry. We'll get through it. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful as Kristen said, but we always get through it. We will get through it. And we will have our day in the sun at some point down the road. Hopefully it's sooner than later.
Okay. Thank you everyone for putting up with my feisty today. I was a little more feisty than normal, but this is happening in my hometown and my city and I didn't like it. And so that's why I'm a little feisty now.
For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.